Welcome to my tutorial in Java on NetBeans. We will be learning how to create variables and scanners. We will create an exam mark calculator to show you how. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so first thing I'm doing is removing all of the default text, and we're going to declare an integer. We're going to call it current mark. You do that with double current mark. We also need to declare multiple variables. We're going to call them exam week, exam mark, ending mark, and the final one is going to be called the minimum mark. And yeah, give yourself some space. And now we ask for our input. So we do that with system.out.print, and then in brackets with quotation marks for text, and then we want to ask them for their current mark in the class. So enter your current mark in the class, and then to actually get the input. So just after the package, right? You want to type. Oh, whoops. Just Control Z that. Yeah. Um. Yeah, but just after the package, you want to type import. Not that. Dot space Java dot util dot scanner, and that's that code. But you need another bit of code right after, or I do it at the start of the public static void. Scanner input equals new scanner, or new scanner, then in brackets, and that's system.in, yeah, and then end it with the semicolon, obviously. So now we can get the inputs now. So how you actually get the input is current mark becomes or equals input.nextInt, and the int will have a brackets after it. And now we can ask the user for all of their other inputs. The only inputs we're getting is exam weight, exam mark. Yeah, and the other two will be what we're actually outputting. So your ending mark will be whatever you get on the exam, or whatever. It's some complicated formula code. I'll show you that. And now that we're done with all our inputs, you input dot close, and the close needs a bracket after it. So now to get our ending mark equals your current mark, and there's some code here that it's complicated, but that's how it works. You could just copy and paste it, which is exactly what I did here. This is all the code. Current mark times, because the exam weight is in, it's not in a decimal form. It's just like, oh, you put it in and it's just like a 20 or something, 20% of your exam weight. So you need to divide it by 100 to get a percent form, or a decimal form actually. And then you subtract 100 from it to get, that's the first 100, or the first like 20 or whatever it is. And then the exam weight will be the other. So, and here, whatever, it's complicated. You can just copy and paste it. So here, you want to do a system.out, and then you want the print line code, because that will put a line at the end of it. And it's the same as the other one, just quotation marks. Your ending mark is, then quotation marks, then plus ending mark, plus, and then a percent sign. So now for the minimum mark, which is the same code, it's just you forget that little half portion. Um, yeah, you just forget half of that code. And then you close it. See how it's literally the same thing as that up there? It's just you're missing that second little portion of it. Um, that's because it's assuming that second portion is just a zero, so it won't do anything or whatever. Yeah. So then we tell them what their mark is. Same thing as before. In quotation marks, your mark will be, make sure you have a space after the B, or else the minimum mark will show up directly after. Um, and then you want to plus min mark plus if you want to skip the test, or percent sign if you skip the exam. That's what I did. And here I will debug it. Here, it's kind of hard to do here, but we'll debug it here in the bottom. 80% current mark, 20% of the exam. It's pretty standard for high school. And the mark you hope will get on the exam. Um, I put 95, or 80. No, I put something there. Yeah. One thing I did forget, I forgot the colon at the end of your where you ask them for their mark. So here, before there wasn't a colon where I am right now. So here, yeah, same thing. Your minimum mark's really low, and then that's what you get, and that's the entire program. I hope you learned how to make integers, how to import a scanner, which is important for lots of things. I hope you learned how to uh, write things on the screen, which is also very important. And yeah, integers and stuff, you can always dim those, or not dim, like declare those as, like they don't have to be double, they can be int. Double is just, it gives you decimal places, and integer gives you just an integer without decimal places. So yeah, and then the print ln, that will put a line after the end of your whatever you're saying in that text. And then yeah, you're in getting inputs from your scanner. That's very important because your scanner's no use without it. And that's how you'll get your exam marks. Yeah, thanks for watching.